Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 880 AM The Biz and 1080 AM The Answer. This is Tony Calatayud with a very, very special business spotlight. And, of course, as many of you know, FIU Football has been a staple here at Salem Radio for about 5 or 6 years. In the last 2 years, it's been on another station, but it has come home again to our flamethrower, the 50,000-watt flamethrower WHIM 1080, The Answer. And FIU Football this year also has a brand new broadcast team, and I am privileged and excited that I'm going to be the play-by-play man. But as far as this business spotlight, even more excited that with me on the air is a Miami broadcasting legend and national figure as well, who is going to be joining me on these FIU broadcasts, and it's, of course, none other than Rick Sanchez. And Rick, welcome to 1080 AM, 880 AM, and welcome back to South Florida and, of course, FIU Football.
That is so nice of you, Tony. I appreciate it. I'm really very much looking forward to working with you. I'm very familiar with your work. You're a pro. And, most of all, I'm just excited about being able to help a university that I just believe in. I just, in my heart of hearts, way before anybody suggested this or asked me to do this, I've been a fan of FIU football. I think Mark Rosenberg is probably as fine a president as there is in the country. I think Pete Garcia is a brilliant and dedicated man. And I think having our Cuban version of Bear Bryant as a head football coach is going to be surprising a lot of folks this year around the country. I'm really excited about this opportunity, which for me is, this is a passion project for me. I believe in the university so much. I'm sending my 2 sons there. Ricky's already there, and Robbie's going to be starting in the fall. So I want to be a part of something that I think is representative of what South Florida is really all about. And I love the University of Miami, for example. They're a great school, and I still record their ball games as well because I'm a football junkie. But the University of Miami is not really what FIU represents. The University of Miami doesn't represent Miami so much. So as a kid who grew up in Hialeah, like so many of us, my parents don't speak English, and I've never exactly been a wealthy kid growing up, although God's been good to me and he's blessed me with a beautiful family. I'm just excited about being able to take ownership in South Florida and be a part of that ownership process that I think FIU is going through. This is a school that has something like 60% ethnic or Latino enrollment. I mean, you could argue in many ways that it's more representative of America today and certainly of South Florida than many other universities. That's why I believe in it, and that's why I'm so happy to volunteer my time to be a part of it.
Rick, before we get more into depth as to FIU football, our broadcasts, talk to us. I mean, there's a lot of Rick Sanchez fans, obviously. You were years and years here at SVN and some other places. Talk to us the latest about Rick Sanchez.
Well, we use the word passion, and I think there was an article. It's funny, I was just reading the article in the Miami Herald written by David Neal, and he kept going back to the word earnest. And he kept saying, hey, Sanchez, people hate you or love you, but everybody who tends to listen to you or watch you always says that you are very earnest in how you reported things. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I tend to believe passionately at certain things. And when I was doing the news at CNN most recently, I was very, very passionate about the things and the stories that I covered. And I'm passionate about, for example, people connecting with one another. I guess was one of the pioneers of social media and digital media, and I'm still working on those projects today. I'm working on creating empowerment for people in the United States who may not have the voice that they should have. So, I mean, since leaving CNN and in many ways saying things that I believe to this day, and that is leaving Miami and going and working on a national scale, you kind of find out that there still is a certain lack of empowerment for people in the United States who now should be empowered, if nothing else, just by their demographics. I believe that in my heart. It's why I love FIU. It's why I believe that the media can only be better when more people share. It's why I believe in social media, because people can talk to each other and connect to each other and not have to depend on some corporatized media giant to tell them what to think. When you say those things, you don't always make a lot of friends, and you may not improve your chances of getting hired, but it's still the truth. And I tend to always like to stay within the perimeter of truth-telling rather than calculated PR moves, and who I am. It's kind of who I've always been. So in that sense, what I'm doing now and what I probably will be developing and am developing now through the digital formats is opportunities for more Americans and more people to be a part of the media, and so it can grow and become what I think it really should be in this country.
Well, I think, Rick, that transparency is also going to be a key in having these FIU broadcasts be, taken to another level on the color analyst job and overall as well. Let's go into FIU a little bit.
Well, and that's important what you just said. You're right. And just let me just say one quick thing. FIU is South Florida. Connecting Tony and Rick to South Florida is what we're going to do, because you drive around South Florida and you see an FIU bumper sticker on almost every car. And you know deep down those people want to connect to FIU, want to believe in FIU, want to be proud of FIU, and in many ways they are. But we're at a crossroads right now where with this program, and not, by the way, it's not just a football program. These guys are developing a medical school like bar none. They're developing a school of business that is already being talked around in the country. They're developing an architectural school. I mean, these things are in place. And now we have a chance with the schedule that involves UCF and Duke and Akron and Louisville and the rest of the Sun Belt Conference to put together a record that potentially puts FIU in the spotlight nationwide. And to go one step further than that exciting game we had last year in Detroit at the bowl game. So I believe in this. I think it can happen. And I think very soon a whole lot of people will also be believing this because of Pete and Dr. Rosenberg, and because of Mario.
Absolutely. There's an incredible leadership there. Going to FIU a little bit, Rick, talk to me about the genesis of, I mean, I can sense it in your voice, the passion. I have no doubt that the broadcast will be that and even more. Talk to me about the genesis of your involvement with FIU.
When my son Ricky was graduating, he said, Dad, I kind of miss Miami. And we've been away for so long growing up in Atlanta, and we live in I have a wonderful, blessed life. I have, 4 beautiful kids and a wonderful wife and a turtle and 2 dogs and a home in the suburbs. And it's a wonderful suburban life living outside of Atlanta in Georgia. But it's very different from what I grew up in. And I almost started sensing that Ricky was missing what he experienced when he was a little kid growing up in Miami. And he'd lost his contact to his abuela and his abuelo. and he lost his contact to my brothers. And, you know, us Latinos were always very, very close-knit families. So
sure.
It was like every third week there was a Noche Buena celebration, you know? So to me, when Ricky said, you know, God, it'd be great, Dad, maybe I should go to school back in Miami, I said, you know, let's go down there and do some visits. So when I went down there, I hooked up with Mario and I hooked up with Pete, and they gave Ricky a tour of the campus, and he said, Dad, I really love this. This is a great place. And he felt reconnected to Miami, which made me really proud. One of the best things about it was when Ricky came back from college after his first year, he was speaking Spanish. And I was like, son, what is the deal? He goes, oh, sí, papá, ¿tú sabes por qué? Porque todo el mundo habla español aquí. And I was like, this is really cool. The thing that I never was able to get my kids to speak was Spanish because, you know, when you work a 14-hour job and you get home at the end of the day, the last thing you want to be is a Spanish teacher. Yeah. I'd rather go play catch with them or work on their homework. They tend to be more with their mom than they are with their dad. And, you know, my wife is not Hispanic. So the relationship with Ricky developed in such a way so that Pete and Mario started mentoring Ricky. He wanted to go into sports management, so they let him intern in the school, and they let him, you know, work with the football program, you know, helping with the gear, and, you know, just doing things that allowed him to be there. And I got to know Pete really well, and I said, you know, I love what you guys are doing. I started going to the games because it gave me an excuse to see my son. And I started following the team, and I just became a fan, kind of a super fan of the FIU football team, culminating last year when they went to that bowl game and won. Pete and I continued the relationship, and he's always asked me, hey, since you're good at this kind of stuff, if you don't mind, would you come down and MC the sports banquet, or would you MC the golf tournament that we're sponsoring? And I said, sure, I'd be happy to do it. So as we continued the relationship, one day as we were doing this golf banquet thing that they do, which he asked me to do, we were walking off the course, and Pete said, you know, I was thinking last night, wouldn't it be, you love sports, you love our program, you know our program, you love Miami, you love to come here, and you're a broadcaster, and you're not broadcasting right now. Would you be interested in being part of our broadcast team? And I said, I don't know. That sounds like a crazy idea, but, you know, for most of us as guys who grow up in this country, it's kind of like somebody gives you an opportunity to go take batting practice with the Yankees.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely.
It may not be a job, but it's just a great opportunity. You want to see if you can do it. So I think it's going to make it fun. So I said, sure, let's look into it. And then all of a sudden, the more we talked, the more it looked like it could happen. And we just decided that we were going to do it. I mean, this is not one of those things where I had my PR people or my agents or my managers, you know, cut deals. This is just Pete and Rick and Mark Rosenberg and Mario having a conversation and saying, hey, let's do this. It'll be fun. It's very informal. It's basically me volunteering to help out. And if it helps the university in any way, then I'm glad I'm doing it. And it gives me a chance to be with my boys.